Good afternoon, everyone. It is 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday, June 24th, 2020. Hope everyone is doing well. Hope everyone is doing good. I've been waiting all day to get this stream going, so I'm glad that I'm finally here. It's so great to see everybody. Just wait a second for some folks to pour on in. The stream today, I'm blessed to have brought to you by BioTrust. It's super important to keep your body healthy and youthful all the time. Collagen's probably the closest thing we'll get to a fountain of youth while forming a wall of defense between your immune system and the rest of your body. 75 to 90% of your skin, bones, joints, and tendons are made of collagen. And the older you are, the more likely that you've noticed this as your hair gets more brittle and not so soft, and your nails break more frequently, and your skin sags, and your joints get stiff, and you feel like you're very old and useless. So when they sent this to me, I absolutely loved it because I am still using it today. You cannot taste it. It works. It works. I'm telling you that it works. It is absolutely fantastic. And I'm really glad that they're sponsoring the channel. You guys can go to healthwithbeans.com and secure your supply of the best collagen on the market. The link will be in the description box of this video. That's healthwithbeans.com. And thank our sponsors who support the channel. Hey guys, thank you so much for joining me today. I am going to bring in my other broadcast channels, Facebook, DLive, Periscope, and of course, Uncover DC's new home on CloutHub. CloutHub, that is getclouthub.com/beans or /beans, not backslash. I don't know why I said that. Today we're going to talk about a bunch of different things. I'm stupid because I, in my rush to get up here, forgot to pull up the decision or the opinion. But in case you've been living under a rock for the past couple hours, everyone, the judges in the appeals court have ruled in favor of General Flynn's petition for writ of mandamus, which means that they have granted in two parts the writ and they have denied it in one. They denied the portion of the writ that dismisses the Judge Sullivan in the case and brings on a new judge. And the rest of it has been approved. In other words, they said these judges, two judges in the affirmative, which were Rao and Henderson, and one judge opposed, which was Wilkins, who was the Obama appointee that brought race into the hearing that we talked about. And before we get into exactly what all this means and some of the more detailed things and things that I picked up on when I read the opinion, remember when I did my stream right after this hearing that day, and everybody was really upset and very much worried that there would be a problem with this because of the way the questions were asked and the way it sounded. It sounded like they were against General Flynn. It sounded like they weren't going to rule in his favor. And I cautioned everyone, saying, like, I don't know that that's the case, what they're going to do. I have no way of knowing that either way, right? But the questions they were asking were very purposeful, and they were asking for certain reasons. They were asking to get the counter arguments on the record. They were asking to be swayed in one way or another to prove their positions wrong. Long story short, it worked out in General Flynn's favor. And this is sort of an unprecedented writ of mandamus because there's no decision yet made by the judge for them to toss out. But what the appeals court basically did was say, guess what? Your Gleeson appointee, the friend of the court that was appointed to argue against the DOJ for you, Sullivan, he's out of the picture. And not only that, but you must accept the DOJ's motion to dismiss and or motion to withdraw and with prejudice. I'm sorry. And that's that. But the opinion is really, really great. If you remember, the Solicitor General in this case argued, the Office of the Solicitor General, really brilliant attorney, very, very awesome to listen to. And if you guys have not listened to the arguments, they're online. I think that you should listen to them. It was actually a really awesome experience. So a lot of people are wondering, like, what can go on now? Yes, the Judge Sullivan can petition the entire appeals court in the DC Circuit to review this. It's called en banc. He can say, you know what, I'm appealing this decision. He has 45 days to do it. I'm appealing this decision. I want the entire panel of judges in the DC Circuit to now hear this and rule against it for whatever. I don't think that they would accept that case even if it was brought, because the ruling, the opinion, is based so strongly on Fokker, which was just recently decided, and other cases that have had longstanding precedent. There were a bunch of different things in here that I thought were just beautiful and gave me hope and faith in justice again. It was really something. First of all, something that no one else I've seen point out yet. I'm claiming credit for this one, okay? It's this. This is the first time. Here we go. Hold on. This is the first time that we have had officially written down in a court document the following. In its motion, the government explains that in light of newly discovered evidence of misconduct by the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the prosecution can no longer prove beyond a reasonable doubt that any false statements made by Flynn were material to a legitimate investigation, an element the government contends is necessary under 1001. They've never said out loud before that there was any misconduct on the part of the FBI. Even the DOJ in its motions never. They hinted at it, but they never said it. I'm nearly certain. I'm 99.999% sure that this here is the first time that they have acknowledged FBI misconduct, even though it's obvious to everybody. So there's that. It is really great. There is one portion of this. I'm going to go to Twitter. I could read the whole thing to you, but you guys have eyes and ears, so you can read it for yourself. But not that. My bad. I did a tiny little short thread as I read through this. Here. They're arguing that the district court has acted, that they've ordered a briefing, scheduled a hearing in order to provide a court-appointed amicus the opportunity, or amicus, the opportunity to present arguments in opposition to the government's motion to dismiss. In other words, the court has appointed one private citizen to argue that another citizen should be deprived of his liberty regardless of whether the executive branch is willing to pursue the charges. That is so strong right there. Why should some random WAPO op-ed writer, why should that person be able to decide or argue the fate and the liberty of someone else when nobody is in agreement, other than the judge isn't even in agreement technically, that he should be prosecuted for a crime he did not commit? And arguing that what the judicial branch is doing here, if it were to move forward and let's just say the government had to go in, Gleeson has indicated he wants more hearings and he wants more evidence and he wants blah, 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 right? The federal government, the executive branch, would be forced to reveal the thinking behind its prosecutorial decision-making, which would put a massive chill on correction in the future. So the appeals court has asked several times. They asked during arguments, shouldn't the executive have the chance to self-correct? Meaning, shouldn't they have the chance to come on in and drop this thing when they realize that there's wrongdoing? And of course, the DOJ lawyers, the Solicitor General lawyer, was like, yes, absolutely, we should have the opportunity to self-correct. And that's what is being ripped from them if they're forced to stand in open court and explain why they made the certain decisions that they did, and the egregious and horrible chilling effect that will have on self-correction of the executive in the future. Meaning the executive branch will never feel comfortable dropping a case again, because if they do, they're going to feel like they're going to be put on the Inquisition in the case to explain why they did it, even if both parties agree. it's really, really crazy what this case really represented in terms of separation of powers. Then there was this. I'm just going to here. Whatever the extent of the district court's narrow role under Rule 48, the role does not include designating an advocate to defend Flynn's continued prosecution. The district court's order put two co-equal branches of government on a collision course. The district court chose an amicus who had publicly advocated for a full adversarial process, and based on the record before us, the contemplated hearing could require the government to defend its charging decision on two fronts: answering the district court's inquiries as well as combating Gleeson's arguments. Moreover, the district court's invitation to members of the general public to appear as amici suggests anything but a circumscribed review. I know I pronounced that wrong. This sort of broadside inquiry would rewrite Rule 48 as a narrow leave of court provision. It would just completely destroy Rule 48. Completely. And we need not guess if this irregular and searching scrutiny will continue. It already has. In other words, the court, in its opinion, is saying we don't need to wonder if they're going to completely continue to act so absolutely batshit crazy, because it already has. On May 15th, Gleeson, who is the friend of the court appointed by Sullivan, the one who wrote the op-ed, Gleeson moved for permission to file a brief addressing, among other things, any additional factual development he may need before finalizing his argument, and suggesting a briefing and argument schedule, like retrying the case without the DOJ even involved. It's batshit crazy. It's crazy. The district court granted the motion and set a lengthy briefing schedule and a July 16th hearing. Now, if you listen back to arguments during that, you'll hear them saying, well, it's not a big deal. They're gonna have a hearing on the 16th of July. The judges are asking the defense, Sidney Powell, and the government and Sullivan's attorney, well, why can't we just let this go? And they're saying it in a tone of voice that would make some people think that they were not on board with granting this writ. But here, in the answer, they're specifically citing that this would go on for too long. And they're saying the district court granted the motion, set a lengthy briefing schedule. In his brief opposing the government's motion, Gleeson asserted the government's reason for dismissal were pretext and accused the government of gross prosecutorial abuse. Now, that is absolute nonsense. It's nonsense like what we're seeing go on today here. Of course, it's adjourned. Let's see. Hold on.
So what?
This is Zelensky. He was the Roger Stone attorney.
Yes.
You were also pressured to distort the events that transpired during the course of the trial. Is that right?
Both during the course of the events leading up to the trial, Mr. Stone's criminal conduct, and some events in the trial itself, yes.
So now what they're arguing in this hearing is that Roger Stone has received political favor. It's clown world. Here.
Give us one example of the type of distortion that you were asked to engage in.
So, for example, involving Mr. Credico, Mr. Credico was the witness that was intimidated by Mr. Stone. He both testified at trial and submitted a letter after the fact. The letter seemed to indicate that he wasn't as worried about the witness intimidation, but he had previously testified before the grand jury, and he also said at trial that he was concerned about what others might do as a result of Mr. Stone's actions. We were pressured to say...
See, so that's the thing. Let me just explain this one for you. Zelensky's conflating different issues. At issue in the court for Roger Stone was him threatening a witness. Credico was the witness who was threatened. He made a big deal about it in front of the grand jury, but then once he got to trial, he was like, he would never do anything to me. This is nonsense. Like, no, please don't take it so seriously. It's really not all that big of a deal. But then when it came to sentencing, this resistance tard over here decided that he was going to up the levels of sentencing guideline, like up the levels that they were going to sentence him on. Gosh knows how many, 7 or 8 levels just for That one thing when the witness is saying it's okay, it wasn't really all that serious. And their argument for that was that he was worried, the witness was worried what other people would do. It's bull. The whole thing is bull. So this was the judiciary hearing today. And before we get back into some of the Flynn stuff, I wanted to show you a very rare on-camera clip of myself where I saw something that I just couldn't understand. It was very strange. I'm sitting here fixing my computer.
Because I am responsible for preserving order and decorum in this committee, I am requiring members and staff attending this hearing to wear face masks. I came to this decision after the Office of the Attending Physician released new guidance requiring masks in committee hearings. The chair's authority to enforce the preservation of order and decorum during committee proceedings derives from the Speaker's enforcement authority under Clause 2 of Rule 1 of the House. The chair would greatly prefer that all present simply uphold the decorum of the committee by complying with these reasonable safety standards. Failing that, any member who fails to
is he going to kick himself out?
Be recognized. I now recognize the gentleman, Mr. Collins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate
We're in bizarro world. Bizarro world. I mean, there's no other way to explain it. So this is a it goes into leave of court. It is very easy to understand. It is very strongly worded. It is very clear. There is no doubt about this. So this gets filed. I want you to read this. I called it Flynn Free. That's what I named it. I want you to read it. I want you to read it if you can. You don't have to read all 38 pages because I don't know if you care to see the other perspective. It doesn't matter to me. I don't want to read their hypocrisy. I don't care anymore. They speak out of both sides of their mouths. They don't know what the F is going on. They're petrified petulant little children. We're in upside down world. Literally shitbat crazy. Shitbat crazy. I'm making it backwards because I don't know how else to stress this. And I mean, excuse my language, I guess. I should not be saying words like that on the stream, especially because I have to really start getting used to not saying words like that for some things that are upcoming. So anyway, long story short, right after this gets filed, we have Gleeson, the judge in the judge who submitted the amicus brief, the one who was dismissed with the district court order, who files in the original General Flynn case a motion for extension of time to file a reply brief. On May 13th, 2020, the court issued an order appointing me to present arguments in opposition to the government's motion to dismiss. The court further directed me to address whether the court should issue an order to show cause, why Mr. Flynn should not be held in criminal contempt, blah, 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 blah. My reply brief has been completed and it's ready to be filed. However, earlier today, the D.C. Circuit granted Mr. Flynn's petition for a writ of mandamus in part, directing the court to grant the government's Rule 48 motion to dismiss and vacate its order appointing me as amicus curiae. Under the D.C. Circuit's rules, an order or judgment granting or denying the relief sought will become effective automatically 21 days after issuance in the absence of an order or other special discretion of this court to the contrary. In other words, if Judge Sullivan does not do anything at all, what the district court ruled automatically happens. 21 days, 3 weeks. Which I wouldn't be surprised if he just kept his mouth shut for that long. I mean, I doubt that he's going to have to eat some real humble pie to sign this thing. Really. Because the D.C. Circuit can depart from this rule and give its order immediate effect by saying so explicitly, but has not done so in this case, I believe the court's orders appointing me and directing me to file my reply brief today remain in effect. What he's basically doing when he's doing this is either forcing the court to act or giving Judge Sullivan an out to allow the slander to continue, but I feel like it's not going to go without answer, and I'll tell you why in a second. The writ is not yet in effect, and it is conceivable that further proceedings in the circuit court may prevent it from taking effect. In other words, possibly you will appeal this, and if that's the case, I need to know what to do. Then he says, on the other hand, I do not wish to show disrespect for the Court of Appeals by filing my reply brief in the face of a decision directing this court to vacate the order appointing me as moot. Accordingly, I seek guidance from the court in that regard. Specifically, in light of the decision issued this morning by the Court of Appeals, I request clarification as to whether my reply brief should be filed. In addition, I respectfully request an extension of time to file the reply brief until this court has provided such clarification. He's not asking for more time to compile. He's asking for more time because it's the deadline, and he doesn't want to step on the district court's toes by filing anything after he's just been dismissed by them. At the same time, he doesn't know what Judge Sullivan's going to do and if they're going to be able to drag this dog and pony show out. In the interest of filing this request as promptly as possible, I have not conferred with counsel for the government or Mr. Flynn regarding this request. So, as all this was going down, we had one more thing, which really just puts the icing on the cake. Handwritten notes from Peter Strzok disclosed by the DOJ in federal court yesterday show that the operation against Michael Flynn was ordered by President Barack Obama and Vice President Joe Biden in the Oval Office on January 5th, 2017. According to Strzok's notes, was he in the office? Was he in there? Was he in there? According to Strzok's notes detailing the January 5th meeting, Joe Biden explicitly mentioned using the Logan Act to go after Flynn, and Obama explicitly directed James Comey and Sally Yates to investigate Flynn and use the right people to go after. Not only that, but James Comey allegedly said that these notes indicate that James Comey said that they appear legit. The calls appear legit. They had nothing. They acknowledged they had nothing. This is the most damning piece of exculpatory evidence that we've seen so far. I mean, this implicates Obama and Biden directly in setting up General Flynn. Directly. And there is a good thread by Technofog on this. Strzok's notes, believed to be of January 4th, reveal that the former President Obama, James Comey, Sally Yates, Joe Biden, and apparently Susan Rice discussed the transcripts of Flynn calls and how to proceed against him. Mr. Obama himself directed that the right people investigate General Flynn. This caused former FBI Director Comey to acknowledge the obvious. General Flynn's phone calls with Ambassador Kislyak appear legit. According to Strzok's notes, it appears that Vice President Biden personally raised the idea of the Logan Act. Now, I'm telling you that Page and Strzok were emailing each other about the Logan Act. I just don't remember what day. I believe it was before this. I thought it was the 4th. I could be wrong. But as we know, Joe Biden's not the sharpest scissor in the... I don't know. So, I mean, if we want to keep on trotting out exculpatory evidence while the House Judiciary Committee conducts nonsense.
That it took me a moment to come up with the name. Alessio, the first assistant's name is Evangelista.
Okay. So tell me why the special counsel didn't charge Joseph Mifsud with lying to the FBI. He lied 3 times. You charge everybody else. You charge Gates, you charge Flynn, you charge Stone, you charge 13 Russians no one ever seen. We obviously know that the Flynn charge was wrong, as evidenced by what happened today. But why didn't you charge Joseph Mifsud, who lied to you guys back in February of 2017?
Congressman, I have been told by the Department of Justice that my testimony today should adhere to the four corners of the special counsel's office report. The privilege issues with going outside of that, I would be happy to consult with them, see if they will permit me to answer.
You were awful quick just a few minutes ago. Here's a sentence: Manafort told the special counsel. So you were fine talking to Democrats about what Manafort told to the special counsel. I'm asking you a simpler question. Joseph Mifsud, the guy who first tells Papadopoulos that they have dirt on the Clintons, Papadopoulos then tells the foreign diplomat who tells the FBI, and then we get this investigation that takes 3 years. And when you interview him, he lies 3 times. It's on page 192 of the Mueller report. I'm just asking you why you guys didn't charge him.
Congressman, I want to address your issue as to why I discussed what Mr. Manafort said.
Yeah, see, look, you see what happens?
Mr. Cistolini.
They don't even let him answer the question. You know, usually in hearings like this, the time of the gentleman has expired, but you can continue to answer the question. They are ruling this committee like tyrants. It is so disgusting. You guys, we are on the, I swear, we are on the brink of complete tyranny in this country if we do not step up and make sure that this ends, okay? It cannot get more clear. This sniveling little, waddling little whatever of a man is I wish I could find the beginning. Let me just, hold on.
Including Mr. Zelensky.
Now, I want you to note the lack of a mask, okay?
To follow this guidance. This is for the health and safety of all of us.
He's reading again.
For the Southern District of New York was, quote, stepping down, resigned.
Now he goes into his opening statements about, you know, how Berman stepped down and Berman didn't want to leave. And listen, there's a lot going on over there with the Berman thing. I need to get on here more with you guys. I really do. But I wanted to show you. I don't have a timestamp.
It needs to be said.
Here we go.
During the Obama administration.
Watch this.
When the light switches from green to yellow, you have 1 minute to conclude your testimony. When the light turns red, it signals your 5 minutes have expired. For Mr. Zelensky, there is a timer on your screen to help you keep track of time. Mr. Ayer, you may begin.
He forgets one of the...
Your mic.
Good afternoon, Chairman Nadler, Ranking Member Jordan, and members of the committee.
Hold on. There was a part here.
Transparent or overriding...
I want you to see. This is live.
In a number of other matters,
what
such
I'm
as
doing
the
right now
intake
is
of
live.
information from Rudy Giuliani.
Outrageous. Do you...
The sergeant at arms be called upon to stop the disruption of this meeting?
So look what's happening.
I can't hear this witness.
Or worst of all,
Gomer
I think, are his
starts tapping because he's over his time and shitting all over the Attorney General. Hold on.
In ways that impact official action. Along with his continuing
He's tapping.
media
Gomer's
project
tapping.
to make
Gomer's
Americans
tapping.
believe that the
Just
FBI
wait.
conspired against Donald Trump. His statements about the Mueller report, Jeffrey Berman's supposed resignation, and Barr's own role in the events in Lafayette Park come quickly to mind. So does his practice of regularly shrouding himself in the rhetoric and trappings of the rule of law, even as he desecrates and undermines the institutions that make it possible. But to me, Barr's crowning dishonesty is the portrait of Edward Levy that a recent New York Times article showed hanging on the wall of his conference room, as though the current incumbent has
regular
anything...
order. The witness will conclude. Regular order is right.
We're way beyond regular order.
The witness will continue.
Can I have one more sentence here?
By all means.
Okay. But to me, Barr's crowning dishonesty is the portrait of Edward Levy that a
Mr.
recent
Chairman, I would
New York
ask
Times
that the sergeant at arms be called upon to stop the disruption of this meeting. I can't hear this witness. This is a very important witness.
Thank you, Louis.
Yeah, well, he's way beyond
And the
his
chair
time.
has
And if
the
there are no
authority-
rules about when
chair
people
has the
can
authority,
talk,
does
there's
he
no
not?
rules about when you can make noise.
The gentleman makes a good point. and
Look at the
chair
people
will
standing
enforce
up over
the
there.
5-minute rule. Witness will proceed.
Chair is not enforcing a 5-minute
The
rule.
witness will conclude.
Mr. Chairman, this is outrageous. Do you have no respect for the rules whatsoever?
No, he
Witness will
doesn't.
conclude.
He's going to bang his fat little gavel.
He's 2 minutes beyond concluding, and you don't let us have that kind of time. You gavel down immediately. You're being grossly unfair. This man had a written statement, and he knew to cut it to 5 minutes. He couldn't do it. Either we have rules or we don't.
The gentleman will suspend. The witness will conclude.
Gomert was tapping.
And we can keep
Closing, it
making
needs to
noise.
be said that Bill Barr does regularly lie in ways that impact official action.
Mr. Chairman, there's not order in the room. There's a banging.
No,
that's
there's certainly not.
disrespectful.
Mr. Chairman, would you have Gene Krupa removed?
The witness will conclude.
That's what you said a while ago, and he didn't conclude.
The gentleman will suspend. The witness will conclude.
So I guess the last thing I want to sum up with, I've said all the rest of this, but the last point I'd like to make is that I think his crowning dishonesty in the face of what he is doing to the Justice Department is the picture that I saw in the New York Times a few weeks ago, a portrait of Edward Levy on the wall of his conference room, as though the current incumbent has anything but disdain for the beliefs and achievements of his predecessor. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I have a parliamentary inquiry.
Gentleman will state his parliamentary inquiry.
They don't let Republicans
not
make parliamentary
appropriate
inquiry.
For the chair to exercise discretion in extending the 5-minute rule as the chair sees fit?
It certainly is appropriate.
And is it authorized under the rules of this committee?
It certainly is authorized under the rules of this committee.
Well, then, cannot the chair call in the sergeant at arms to maintain order when a member of this panel is out of order and disrupts the
We'll move
meeting?
on to the next witness.
Parliamentary inquiry, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Elias.
Parliamentary inquiry, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Elias.
See,
Parliamentary
they ignore the
inquiry, Mr.
Republicans'
Chairman.
parliamentary inquiry.
Parliamentary point of order, Mr. Chairman.
There is no point of order.
How do you know I've not said one? Here we go
The
again.
gentleman is completely
See,
out of order.
this
Mr.
is the
Chairman.
thing. This is what they do. They are not following any rules at all. I mean, it's a kangaroo freaking hearing room. Nadler does not follow any rules. He's a fascist who doesn't let Republicans talk. They can't use parliamentary procedure because Nadler doesn't recognize it. These are the people that are running. They should not have American flags behind them. It is absolute tyranny and fascism. The thing that they accuse us of, that right there. It's
Point of order.
Point of order is according to the House rules, a House chairman cannot capriciously determine the 5-minute rule at the whim of what he wants. It has to be fairly and impartially applied. That is the spirit of the House rules, and that is not what has happened.
look, somebody, his little minion there. This guy right here. His little minion. He comes over often and whispers things in Nadler's ear that Nadler should say. I'm really surprised that these guys don't have puppet hands up all of their backs that we can visibly see. Where are the marionette strings? He doesn't even know what he's saying half the time. He has scripts in front of him. He never utters a statement that is not already pre-written by his staff.
5-minute rule as provided by the House rules.
So you're ruling on my point of order?
See? Do you see? Do you see what just happened? Look, listen carefully. Listen carefully.
Rules.
So you're ruling on my point of order?
The gentleman has not stated the point of order.
I did say the point of order.
He doesn't know anything. He doesn't know how to run the committee. This guy is running his committee. Listen.
Ruling on my point of order?
The gentleman has not stated the point of order.
I did say the point of order. I said
Amazing.
the point of order is the rules are being violated by a capricious
Amazing.
chairman who is not following the rules of the House by arbitrarily deciding when the 5-minute rule will be applied and when it will not be applied.
You have not stated a cognizable...
Now that other masked gentleman over here, the other staff member has come on in.
Arbitrarily deciding when the 5-minute rule will be applied and when it will not be applied.
You have not stated a cognizable point of order. The chairman has discretion.
Mr. Chairman, you've not stated a recognizable way of running a committee in 18 months. So, I mean, let's determine it.
The gentleman will suspend. The gentleman has not stated a cognizable point of order. Mr. Elias.
I did earlier, and you blow over it.
The gentleman will suspend. Mr. Elias.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I forgot this one. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman.
That is why earlier this
I mean,
year, I asked
where's
DOJ
their...
Inspector General
Listen,
to
I got it.
examine-
Okay. I'm going to get a little out of bounds here, okay? This is not a... I'm just going to skip it. I'm not going to say it. Hold on. There's one other part that I wanted to play for you.
You testified that you came forward because telling the truth still matters. I too believe the truth still matters.
No, you don't.
We will not
Give me a
let
break.
this conduct stand. Attorney General Barr will be held accountable. And I recognize the gentleman from Ohio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Today's hearing is yet another attempt by the majority to smear this president.
I worry
and his
because
administration.
look, I worry. There's a, just look at his hands.
These witnesses confirm that the Attorney General
Watch his little
weaponizes
hands.
government resources, taxpayer dollars, to pursue investigations that do not in any way benefit Americans, but instead advance the president's
They're
personal
dirty.
bar.
His hands are dirty.
Number of reasons.
God help us. Hold on. There was another thing.
Offended that he won the presidency in the first place. Impeach Attorney General Barr for.
There's a portion where it really goes off the rails that I wanted to show everyone, but again,
Said career professionals.
Yes, this guy.
Prosecutors do our job.
And that one.
We do it regardless of party or politics.
They were arguing about
was
whether or
the
not he could
Democrat.
appear
Be
in
clear
person.
about the timeline in the Stone case. The Stone, days after Mr. are so disturbing, tried to exact a price.
That's the big thing you got today, the day we
Hold on.
last few years.
Rules allows for a duly subpoenaed witness
Here we
to
go.
appear.
Here we go. Here it is. Here we go. Listen closely. Here we go.
3 letters from Bradley Weinsheimer, the Associate Deputy Attorney General. Gentleman will state his parliamentary inquiry.
What provision of the Democrats' new House rules allows for a duly subpoenaed witness to appear and provide testimony by video?
The rules so provide. I will now introduce today's...
Mr. Chairman, the copy of the subpoena that we have that was issued to Mr. Aaron
Watch
Zelensky
this.
The gentleman
does not allow for that.
The gentleman has not stated...
The chair has not answered the inquiry.
Section 4F1
Appeal the
allows
ruling.
committees to issue subpoenas...
Appeal the ruling of the chair. We're not, the witnesses are not allowed to
Mr.
attend by video under the subpoena that the chairman issued.
Section 4F1 of the rules of the House allows... Of the House Resolution 965...
See, they're
allows
giving him
committees
his
to issue
talking points in
subpoenas
his
for
ear.
return via remote participation.
The subpoena reads, you are hereby commanded to be and appear before the
The
committee.
gentleman will suspend. I will now introduce today's witnesses.
Appeal the ruling of the chair, Mr.
I
Chairman.
will now introduce today's
Mr. Chairman.
witnesses. Donald Iyer
Mr.
served
Chairman,
as
you have-
Deputy Attorney General under President George H.W. Bush. He joined the department as
Mr.
an
Chairman,
assistant
you
U.S.
cannot
attorney,
simply go over a
held
point of order,
number
which
of other
is to repeal
positions.
the ruling of the chair. And I'm speaking to you, gavel me down, but this is...
Rules
for
don't
18
matter
months.
in here, apparently.
18 months, he's appealed the ruling of the chair. At least honor the parliamentary procedure.
It is, there was a ruling. He was not...
See,
One
little
more,
man
I
over there in
challenge
the
the
tie.
state
Was
of
he
being
elected?
issued
I don't know.
clear.
Did you guys elect this dude over here? I don't remember an election for these two. Do you? I don't remember electing those two.
Remotely. I make a point of order.
The chair... not a cognizable point of order.
I challenge the ruling of the chair.
You cannot appeal a non...
Just denied my point of order. I challenge the ruling of the chair.
He can't rule a committee because he doesn't know any rules. He has no idea how to be a chair. He has no idea how to chair a committee like this. He doesn't know how. I mean that this is why that he couldn't do the impeachment.
Donald Iyer served as Deputy Attorney General under...
Here we go again. I appealed the ruling of the chair on a point of order. You cannot overlook that.
And Mr. Collins, you can't interrupt these proceedings, and the American people deserve to know the truth.
Oh,
This has nothing to do with the truth. This has to do with the ruling of
There was
committee.
no ruling of the chair.
I made a point of order. You ruled. That's a ruling.
The point of order was not cognizable.
Then I appeal the ruling of the chair on not recognizing the point of order.
ruling of the chair to appeal. Donald Iyer served as Deputy
Chairman,
Attorney
could I
General...
Nothing changes around here.
This is too ironic.
Donald Iyer
Mr. Chairman, can I
served
just
as
raise-
Deputy Attorney General under President George H.W. Bush. He joined the department as an Assistant U.S. Attorney, California, clerked for justice...
And they let him go. What are they supposed to do? Besides get up and physically assault Nadler? I mean, what are they supposed to do? I would run over and steal the gavel. I mean, we need to take this house. If you guys, first of all, just thank you so much. It was a good day. We got some good news today. General Flynn was on Rush Limbaugh. General Flynn was on Sean Hannity. And it was really amazing to hear his voice and all the things that he had to say. So God bless. I will be on with Lars Larson tonight at 6:15 Eastern, 3:15 Pacific. And there's a lot of really cool stuff coming. I'm so excited to tell you about, but I can't just yet. If you guys appreciate the work I do, you can find me on Patreon, subscribe star, Tracy Beans. You can also find at Uncover DC, breaking news now that we have coming up, going up all the time. You can support Uncover DC by clicking on the support icon, or you can PayPal us, paypal.me/uncoverdc or paypal.me/tracybeans is the only thing that keeps us going so that we can do this stuff all the time and get you guys news with integrity, some actual journalism. That's it. That's all I got right now. I'm still trying to calm down from